Yep, we're rolling.
So, just say your name and I would say what team you race for, but what you're doing within cyclocross and your capacity and everything.
My name is Bill Schieken. I am the owner and operator at In the Crosshair, cxhairs.com, and yeah, out here at Nationals.
Sweet.
Doing a little bit of everything.
So, how long have you been working within cyclocross? I mean, is this your 10th, 12th? I mean,
Yeah, well, work. So I did my first race in 2003.
Yeah.
And then between becoming a dad and stuff like that, sort of was in and out of it until about 2008, 2009, and that's when I really started covering it, from the other side. And after about 2011 or so, completely stopped racing, and now it's just full-time media coverage on all different levels.
Nice. I think my first cross race was in 2003. Yeah. So one of the things I've been asking the riders that we've been interviewing, we've been talking a little bit, obviously, about tomorrow, the big race, and, what they expect out of the race and their performance. But the one thing that I kind of circle back to with all of them is with the men, who's their pick for their own race, if it outside of themselves, and then for the women, like who's their pick for the race. So let's touch on that.
Okay.
Going with the women first.
Yeah.
There's 3 women that are at the pinnacle, at the peak right now, that are near untouchable by the rest of the field. How do you think the women's race is going to go down, and who's your pick for the win?
I'd be a fool to, with a caveat, I'd be a fool to pick against Katie Compton. How can you? She's proven it. She deserves to be the favorite. She deserves to be the all-out favorite. Year after year after year. Plus, I guess this will be 14 if she wins it, 13 in a row already, and she's having a great season. She started out fast. She's had a couple asthma issues, couple other things going on that hopefully won't rear their ugly head during this race. But that's really the only thing I think that would take her out of that favorite spot. Right at her level though now is Katie Keough, who's just had an amazing year. She's second in the world in the World Cup standings. You can't argue against that either. This is between Compton and Keough. What we can look at here for the men, we're like, oh, what's happening at the Belgian Nationals because they're the Dutch Nationals, because those are the best in the world, and that's where the premier riders are going to be. If you look on the women's side, you have to look to the U.S. and say, hey, this is one of the premier national races, because you have one woman who's won over 120 UCI races, I think 20-some World Cups, and then you have Katie Keough, who's just crushing it this year. And she is giving Compton a run for her money on several occasions, but I think with this course, just the makeup of the course and how it's a mix of, sort of heavy riding on that false flat part and then just the technical stuff, I still think Compton's got the...
It's hard to bet against Compton in the betting city of Reno, Nevada.
And we have to, I'm assuming the third person you're talking about is Ellen Noble, and also the breakout year for her.
Yeah,
just coming up from U23 last year, obviously she has the pedigree. She was a world champion medalist last year, and came in here and then podiumed in I think her first World Cup or second, at track, and just unbelievable season, and still riding at a high level. So you can't discount her. You can't discount, I'd say, the top 10 in there, because it's cyclocross, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We've seen so many flat tires out here already. So mechanicals are definitely something that are an issue. It's not sloppy, it's not muddy. The mechanics aren't really, going to be worrying about that. But they still have to be ready with bikes, because somebody might be limping in with a flat tire.
For sure. And on the men's side,
the men's side is tough.
The men's side is crazy.
The men's side is tough.
This is the second or third year I haven't raced the pro men's race, and this is probably the most excited I've been to watch the pro men's race. In years past, Powers was dominant.
Right.
And then Hyde made some mistakes last year, but besides his own mistakes, he's so dominant. But this season's been insane.
Yeah.
This is the most exciting, racing in the men's field for years.
Yeah, and Hyde had a great European campaign, out there training with Wout van Aert, and just sort of immersing himself in that scene, which is awesome. That's what we love to see. That's what we want our American riders to do, so they can excel at that level. You look at him in warm-ups. I haven't talked. Maybe you have talked to him. He's got the wrapped-up knee, so
He's so confident.
yeah.
He's confident. I mean, he feels really good. I don't think the knee is an issue. I think, I don't think it's going to hold him back.
As we saw what happened this season, I think Tobin Ortenblad had a plan, and it was that U.S. Cup, and he came in flying. I was just looking. I was putting together highlight reels for USA Cycling's webcast, and I was sort of reliving the year, and what I forgot. Even in the World Cups, even in Jingle Cross, Tobin is flying, and he's right up there with all the Europeans, duking it out with them.
Yeah.
And then he comes into the early season races, is winning those, falls off a little, which, you're a pro, it's going to happen. You can only be at that high level for that long.
You can't hold it all season.
Right. But it's been long enough now that I think, when you look at that periodization, that he's coming back.
This is, everybody's had a 6-week break. I've gone around and talked to all the teams and all the mechanics and managers and directors and the riders, and everybody's like, we haven't been in the cross circus unless you went to Europe.
Right.
But I would, 90% of the field didn't go to Europe. And this is the first, they've been able to do a big training block and, focus for nationals. Tobin's a favorite. Haida's a favorite. But you cannot count
Who's
out.
Gonna be?
Driscoll's been knocking on the door for so long.
Mm-hmm.
John Page, that guy will have the worst season. Show up and win nationals.
Yeah.
You cannot count Page
top
out.
10
This is
year.
his last
Yeah.
year. Nobody knows what the hell he's been doing. He could come here and ride away with it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think some other names, definitely Kerry Werner's another guy who was always knocking on the door all season long, got a big win in Rochester, and then tons of podiums. He knows how to ride with these guys, always up there.
I'm really impressed with Kerry this year.
Yeah.
Like, he's almost flown under the radar, and he's taken a huge step up in his experience and how he's riding and how he races. He's been impressive to watch.
Yeah.
And then the other one I'll never ever count out is Jeremy Powers.
I was going to bring him up if you didn't.
And that's why this race is going to be insane because, we're not even talking about dark horses. I mean, you want to talk dark horses, Cody Kaiser's still there.
Sure.
We could keep going. We could go 15 deep. Any one of those guys could win the national title.
Yeah.
So it's going to be insane. And this race, I rode a little, took some laps. I did some hot laps with all the pros last night. They're all riding together and going just about as fast as each other on the off-camera descent. And it's so in my heart, all those guys are my friends, but I think it's going to play to a tactician and somebody that can ride a smart race and somebody that doesn't flat.
Yeah.
That's kind of thing. I think it may be less of crashes and technical handling. It may be luck. I mean, we're in Reno. It might just be who's the luckiest out there.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I think that you're right that you can't count out Powers. I mean, obviously he's not performing at the level that we all know he wants to, but he's also, for a guy who has built a social media empire, been kind of quiet for the last couple of weeks.
I've
been
noticed
down
too.
training,
Yeah, we've noticed. Jeremy, we've noticed what you've been up to.
That's right.
Can't hide from us.
That's right. So I think he's coming in. Even seeing him out there, he's quiet and he's confident. He's sort of got that silent assassin look to him, and he'll never want to say, "Oh, I like being an underdog." That's not him. He wants to be a favorite. But I think he's fine with not having to deal with like what Hyde's dealing with right now, with people just expecting him to win. So
yeah, I think everybody expects Hyde to win.
Yeah.
And
here's an interesting thing I was thinking about today. If we look back at how the men's UCI calendar went this year, podium spots are opened up by Gage Hecht and Spencer Petrov racing U23, right?
Yeah.
Take those guys out of the mix. You got to be happy about that if you're in the top 10 in the men's elite, that you don't have to mix it up with those two because they're up there every race.
Yeah.
And that's another race that's going to be awesome to watch.
Yeah, totally. That's going to be insane. I mean, the women's U23 race and the men's U23. Honestly, look, I've got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps. I'm really genuinely like, this is probably going to be one of the most tactical and exciting and interesting races to watch.
Even from the juniors up. I mean, the junior men at Pan Am was an amazing race. U23 women, there's some dark horses there, but definitely Emma White is just a step above.
Yeah.
I will say this one thing. I mentioned Petrov and mentioned Heck. The name that I didn't realize was racing, who's going to be the upset maker in that race, is Chris Blevins. He's a fast road guy, amazing mountain biker, super strong. He could throw a huge wrench into the works in that U23 race.
This course would suit a mountain biker, a road racer that can mountain bike.
That's exactly right. Somebody made the point, which I wish I could remember who it was, because it was the perfect description of this course. It's bipolar.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that,
yeah, well said.
Yeah, the front half is just this grassy slog, and then the rest is like this mountain bike off camber, all dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about just in general, talk about where you see cross today, how it's changing and evolving. That was something that overarched the film piece too.
Yeah.
So just talk about it.
I think that maybe we're getting older and we're getting a little jaded.
We're getting older.
Maybe. No, we're definitely getting older. Maybe that's getting us a little more jaded. I look at cyclocross in the country. I look at where we were 10 years ago. I see that enthusiasm. I see everything growing. It's actually what I saw going to Japan this year. They're sort of where we were.
10 years
and
ago.
everybody's just stoked. And
So
there's all
stoked.
these teams out there, and they're just, it's new. And we were at a place then where we have a UCI race, or we have a handful of UCI races, and it's something special. We got a World Cup. This is all amazing stuff. And now I feel like people take it for granted a little more.
Sure.
We have all these amazing races every year, and that's what I think we should fear a little bit. That complacency, that taking it for granted, what we have here is really good. So that's when I start to get a little jaded. And then I come here, I come to nationals,
Right.
and it all changes.
Right.
I see all my friends,
Yep.
I see all the riders, see all the media guys. I mean, this is like always a class reunion for the photographers and the videographers and all of us guys too.
Totally.
And that's when I love it, and I see the enthusiasm again here. I say, and I always think, it's always good to have this annual check-in to say we're okay. Cyclocross is okay.
It's going to evolve. I mean, this is the theme we've been talking with all the riders we've been interviewing. Like, if you've been around for a decade, you saw cross when it was just getting a momentum and just getting exciting, and it's just going to change and evolve. I mean, the racing, the venues, even the media. I mean, just the coverage, the interest, the stories we're telling, and it's not good or bad. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think we'll see continued growth, but it's cross is going to look a hell of a lot different in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. It's tough to be jaded, and it's exciting. I'm always excited to be here.
I know. I always think well, and then we can wrap up. But it's every year, like the last few years since it's been in January, which originally I advocated for, and then I backtracked. And I was like, no, we need December. It's like, oh, it's so far. I don't want to go. And Nationals in December, and it's so much. Every time I come, whether I'm racing or working, it's a blast.
Yeah.
It's the big show. Everybody shows up. You remember, oh, right, this is incredible. And then this leaves us stoked. We think about this for the next 9 months.
Exactly.
Next 6 months into the summer, and then we get stoked, and
Yep.
All right.
The state of cyclocross is strong.
Cool. Sweet, man. Thanks.
I see that being the final words.
I just saw Gage roll up. Grab him.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I hope that was okay. I just kind of